Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for setting aside time to listen to this podcast. So this is my 40th podcast on the Spreaker platform, and this 40th podcast, I am going to talk about the roles of travel companies, which includes travel agencies and tour operators in the area of regenerative tourism. And the context is also in light of the climate crisis. So in a few weeks' time, I will be speaking in front of about 20 to 25 travel agencies at the end of this month. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about is specifically on the role that travel companies play in this period of time where the focus is a lot on sustainability practices. So what are the roles travel companies have when it comes to reducing climate risks, when it comes to creating itineraries in the area of regenerative travel? Regenerative travel has, for the past few years, been an increasingly heard buzzword. It is a term that we have seen being mentioned quite a lot, especially post-pandemic, where the travel industry is talking about degrowth, strategies against mass tourism, and all those sort of things. So as we enter into this next decade where the travel industry is probably going to look very different from the past 30-40 years, there is perhaps an important and pertinent role travel companies, which includes tour operators and travel agencies, play in regenerating places. Regenerative travel perhaps is a term that is, as I said, in the last few years being increasingly used, but maybe not quite so well understood. Regenerating places is a term that we need to dissect and look deeper, because it's very easy to use this term or to say this term out loud, but we need to know what are the many little actions that pertain or that are involved in this term. Travel companies bring people to places. Travel companies have itineraries that design and schedule activities. Travel companies have a lot of potential impact and influence because of the fact that they bring people to places, and there is a lot of responsibility because the activities that are contained in the itineraries potentially can make or break places. So travel companies perhaps can and should relook at the things and the places that people do and go, and perhaps look at new partnerships. Travel companies can perhaps look at how existing partnerships can re-examining current itineraries and the activities that the travelers their travelers get to do, so that the possibility of doing things in a manner that can help to rehabilitate places can be increasingly enhanced. In the light of worsening climate change, we have also started seeing places where, because of rising temperatures, communities that live around places where tourists go to are sometimes challenged to look for ways to survive. Resources are sometimes becoming scarcer. And so that raises another potential risk that of conflict or competition of resources between the tourism industry and local people who live near places where tourists visit. So regenerative travel therefore becomes more complicated. How do we continue to bring travelers or visitors to places and at the same time doing it in a manner that doesn't compromise the livelihoods, the culture, and the existence of communities in those places? So there's a lot that travel companies and tour agencies need to think. It's time to relook at not just the many things that they have in their itineraries, but the manner in which those activities are carried out. So I thank you. I thank you for tuning in to this podcast. This podcast mainly is a continuation of the first one that I did 4-5 days ago. And today's focus is a little bit more on partnerships, forming new partnerships, forming and enhancing or strengthening existing partnerships and forming new ones. In the light of worsening climate change onto tourism destinations, and in light of the more challenging landscape that communities around these places face, tour companies can perhaps also look at potential new partnerships that they have never thought about, partnerships that previously have not been so very obvious, possible or potential partnerships that they can exploit, that they can form, which will end up as a win-win-win situation. A win for the tour companies, a win for the local communities, and a win for the destinations that the travelers go to, and maybe a win for the overall travel industry. Partnerships have always been something important, but perhaps not really looked at or thought of in such a scope, in such a manner. The UN SDG, very, very last goal number 17, is talking about partnerships. We don't always have to think about partnerships as JVs, because there's a lot of innovative or creative ways we can partner with one another. Without collaborative actions and without partnerships, we will find that attaining or trying to attain the SDG 17 sustainable global goals will be very, very difficult. I shall see you in 1-2 weeks' time when I talk about another topic. And I thank you for tuning in. This is Kevin on a Friday afternoon. Goodbye.